There's one word I usually say: do not waste your pain. A pain period is actually a period of discovery.
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart-Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hi, welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I am thrilled today to be talking to Dr. Chigozie, and she's going to say her last name because I will ruin it. But can you introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what you do, and then we'll get into a conversation.
Oh, my name. Thank you so much for having me. I know that issue with my name, but that's okay. That's my identity. So my name is Dr. Chigozie Nwosu. I'm Nigerian. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. Then I am a professional physician. Back home in Nigeria, I had practiced for over 5 years before I landed in Canada. And it's been a journey of trying to find who you are, what you want to do, and what is going on within you. So I'll be happy to share my journey today here, knowing fully well that it's aligned with what I want to do.
That's wonderful. The weather is very different from Nigeria to Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was reading through your website, and we are very aligned in a lot of, purpose, finding purpose and fulfillment in your life. And you wrote on your website, you said, being in the consulting room as a physician was satisfying, but I also watched some of my patients cry over non-medical issues, and how they lightened up after a brief encouragement and guidance made me realize that there's more to me than just being a doctor. And that triggered a dissatisfaction that kept growing until I became restless. And I love the fact that you said they lightened up after a brief encouragement and guidance. And that I just got chills, because one of my favorite words is sawubona, which means I see you, I value you, you are important to me. And when we see people and value them, that really helps us get through this thing called life.
Exactly. So that's the deep aspect of my self-discovery and discovering of who I was more than I used to know. Previously, it's usually people telling me, I want to talk to you, strangers, totally, because I share things on Facebook. By the way, I'm a Christian that is not ashamed to say that she is a Christian, because most people now are not ready to say that, but I'm someone that is ready to say that. And you can't follow me on any of my social media platforms for 2-3 days and not see that. So I share my thoughts and everything on social media. And this brings a lot of people to me, which made me begin to question, what exactly are you saying that are people coming to you inbox to ask for things that are very personal to them, that on a normal day, this shouldn't happen. And I took it back to my being in the consulting room and people coming, leaving the reason they are in the hospital and trying to share their personal struggles, the things that are bothering them, and having some had to cry in the consulting room. And I began to ask myself, I think there is more to just being this doctor than what I am doing here. Because I find out I could go out of my way to actually deal with that non-medical issue they are having, even while treating them. I ask, my husband will always say, my wife knows the one that the child is sick, the one that the mother is sick, the one that all of them that comes to hospital, she knows one personal thing about them. And when he says that, he said the doctor of everybody. So I laugh about it, but then it keeps me thinking. And that was one of the things. What triggered that chord was when I landed in Canada. I had just joined the discipline of radiology here. And during noon break, that's during my break time, I usually walked into the chapel there. And if you understand the system in Canada, every chapel had different section, Hindu, Muslim, in the same place. But when I go in there, I just face my Christian side and do my prayers for that, my break period, and I go back to my office. But something happened. I had walked in there one day. While I was praying, I met someone there who was also sitting and crying. While I turned to pray, it was the spiritual God was like, talk to her. I said, this is white. I'm just an immigrant. I can't talk to her. If you want me to talk to her, before it will be like I'm imposing my religion on her, then let her stand up and come and meet me. I'll pray with her, and whatever you want me to do, I will do it. I had not finished this battling within my spirit. She stood up from where she was, got to where I was, stretched forth her hands, not saying anything to me, just weeping. And I held that hand and joined her in that weeping and prayed my heart out. And after that prayers, I had felt this sense of relief. When I finished, she said, thank you. I've never felt this way before. And I was like, do you mind sharing why you are here? She said, my grandmom is here almost dying. And this is like the only person I have. If God could do this. I said, okay, God would do it. Take my number, because I didn't want to take her so that it won't be me looking out for her. I said, take my number. Let me hear your testimony, because I trust that God would do it. And lo and behold, God did it. It did not just stop there. I walked into a church and someone walked up to me and was like, I want to share my journey with you. I was like, what's this journey? And it was about her depression. I said, do you know me before? She said, no, but I'm just led to share it with you. And that threw me aback. I said, wow. Said, are you from here? She said, yes, she's from here. And she has lived here all her life, just been out of the province no more than 2 years. I said, do you know me? She said, no, but that she wants to share with me. And lo and behold, she started talking about her journey with depression, talked about how she picked up smoking. And that was when I said, no, Chigozie, you need to find who you are. You need to discover who you are. You need to understand why these people are coming to you. There is something that you do not know, which you need to find out. And that made me go on a quest for God. What is really this that I do not know? I remember sitting in my room. I had applied for my licensure in Canada. I applied for MCC. And that day, few days later, the document was delivered, like my certificate has been verified. And I looked at it, MCC, Medical Council of Canada, and I looked at it. I remember vividly how I dropped it on my table and said, God, is this all that it is to my life, or there is more than I'm looking at? And I just slept off. I didn't think about it, but I knew I woke up, I carried that certificate, put in my box, and I started searching the scriptures. I began to ask myself, what is this? You need to find out. While doing that, God dropped somebody in my spirit. I reached out to the person, and instead of her to encourage me what I was doing, the statement she made was, don't you think God is calling you into something deeper? And that was the trigger that I needed. I started seeking for the things that are deeper than what I know. And coming from where I was coming from and being an immigrant who I was actually trying to hide who I was, like, talking about God publicly, letting people know what you do, who you are, those things I was afraid to say them, I can tell you. But after that personal relationship and personal encounter, it was an encounter period, because it happened over and over again. I told myself, no, you have to be brave. If you want this that is in you to be heard there, you have to be brave to take it out there. And that was when my journey began. And that was what bettered my book, Overcoming Depression. It is a story of different people that have come together to talk to me and were willing to share their story and how they overcame depression, which happened to be faith-based approach to managing depression. It comprises of both the research, the medical aspect, and the faith-based, being that I am someone that so much believe in faith outside of medicine and outside of therapy, outside of every other thing. What next? Because we've seen people that have gone through all these management programs, the different aspects of them, the medication, and there has not been progress. And some of them ended up even dying. So outside of the medical aspect, what next? So if we have tried this aspect and we're not getting 100% perception or perfection, or we're not getting 100% satisfaction or healing, why not let's try this aspect, which is the faith-based approach to managing depression? And that's what bettered my book. And on the book launch day, the person that I was telling you of, she was bold enough to talk to everyone seated that for over 20 years of struggling with depression, that was the very first day she was publicly talking about depression. And the hall went in chaos. Everybody started screaming. How did this happen? He said, after reading her book, talking with her, I knew that depression had no hold on me. And I stood up in the hall that day and I said, if this was the only thing this book has achieved, I am a fulfilled human.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you gave me goosebumps so many times during what you just said. And I love, I wrote a book a few years ago called Believe, and it's a collection of stories of faith, love, and hope. And I feel like the faith part, and I'm not any one religion. I believe that there's a God. Jesus is my greatest role model, but I don't want anything to divide us, right? I think I want to unite us all
Yeah,
in what brings us together.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. It's a journey, and it's a journey of self-discovery, because people may be going through things. At the peak of your success, you may be feeling one dissatisfaction that you cannot trace to anything. It was in this my journey I found out that you can actually be successful and still be dissatisfied. You can actually be at the peak of your career and you will still be dissatisfied. So there were so many things on this journey of discovery that I found out that when you look at yourself and you are feeling like, every other thing is together, but you know within you there is an emptiness, I think the person should just stop and ask questions. I believe in doing a retrospective thinking. Where am I coming from? Where I am and where am I going to? If we're able to ask these questions, that will help us or propel us to where we want to be. And that's why I always say something. At every point in your rising in life, let there be that time in your life that you will take out for meditation to understand where you are coming from, where you are, and where you are going to. And that's one of the things that I have done that has really helped me in life, that I do not look at my sites. I do not look at anybody. I do not use anybody as a criteria, because I just believe I am running my race. And for me to finish well, I have to do that which I was curated to do, and making people happy, making people discover who they are, and bringing people out of dungeon, out of pain to limelight, and bringing them to purpose, to understand outside
Purpose.
of my career, this is what I will be, or this is what I can do. Outside of being a doctor, being a nurse, being a pharmacist, being an engineer, doing the wonders of the world, outside of this, what is it else to me than this? We are good at carrying titles, but then outside of the title, who are you?
I always say, I think we all of our purpose is to give meaning to our lives, but to be of service in how we bring that meaning. So if you're a singer, your purpose is to share your gift with others, and however you do that. But I feel like that's the thing that I guess helps us to get out of depression, is to find that thing that lights our soul on fire. And we've been so disconnected from our souls, right?
Exactly.
And from the greater consciousness of humanity and God and all of that, is we don't find meaning in our lives. And then if you're disconnected, there's going to be a result from that, right?
Exactly. a lot of people do not find meaning because you may actually see that you are doing something. You're not doing anything wrong, but you're doing something, but you are not happy doing
Mm.
that. Even sometimes you are happy doing that, but you are not fulfilled. There is a very big difference between being happy and being joyful. Happiness is for a season, it's for a time. Joy is from depth. With that joy, it transcends the particular situation you are dealing with. Joy is something that even if every other thing around you fails, the Bible will say, even if the fig tree refuses to bear fruit, I will still trust God. And if you bring it to our life, joy comes from a place of, even if everything around me is turning upside down, I will be joyful. That's joy. It's totally different from happiness. Oh, I won a $20 check, or this happened. You're happy for that bill, but at the end of the day, you are back to square one. That thing that triggers you. So immediately I made this discovery, I've spent a couple of, since that period till now, teaching people to understand their different personalities and others' personality, because understanding your own will not solve the problem of others. You need to understand your own personality, understand others' personality, discover what makes each of you unique, then find the strengths in each of you so that you can what? Learn to improve both your communication, your relationship, both at workplace, relationship in families. And that is what will make you have what? A holistic life, or a holistic approach to different situations. Because some of us has been raised in a particular way. But when you look back, you may actually be able to pick one or two trauma from that incident and bringing it. If you do not deal with it, you will find out that you are going to do what? Transfer such a trauma to even your own children ignorantly, because you may not know that this is what you are doing. But if you're someone that actually pauses, thinks, and rethinks, you may see the traces of those things that you actually talked against manifesting in you. And it will only take wisdom for you to begin to work on yourself, not to do those things you said were bad, or those things that others had done to you that you perceive as evil. So is a question of moving from where you are to where you ought to be, understanding that every unrest in your spirit, in your soul, is asking you for something. And whatever that is, you have to go on a journey of self-discovery to find out what that soul, or what your spirit is asking for. For every unrest I've had, there is something my spirit is asking for. And until I find that, it never goes away. So it's actually most times a journey of depth, of finding what should be beyond what you are looking at, beyond what you are seeing, beyond the financial security, beyond the level where you are, beyond everything around you. What is that when you are called up to talk, you do not need to ask them, how much are you going to pay? You want to do it because you know you are going to be affecting somebody, and somebody's life is totally going to change.
Yes, yes, that part. And when you see that you've made a difference in someone's life, and you've made a difference in many lives, right? That is the best feeling.
That's
You give me $1 million and yeah, that would be great. But knowing that I have made a difference in somebody's life, that is like, you can't put a price tag on that.
exactly. So making that difference is what each and every one of us, or each of our spirit, yearns to do. But if we do not do that, or if probably your spirit is telling you, you need to do this, and you are quenching it or suppressing it.
Okay, so I do have a question. That when you were talking, have you your whole life, have people, strangers, come up to you and started telling you their stories or telling you their problems just at the grocery store or at random places? Does that happen to you a lot?
That happens to me a lot. And that's what led to this journey of finding my organization, the Brave Mind Hub. because it took me brevity in this part of the world to actually say, I want to begin to coach people. You know, during my book launch, I have a very like prominent person present, and at the end of the book launch, the person walked up to me and was like, "We need to do something together, and I'm going to get back to you about it." You know, I said, what did I do differently in this book launch? That is not just me sharing what I have known and what has happened over time that I came to this part of the world. And that brought me to the understanding of, do you know, sometimes we may be suppressing that thing that may be what God really wants to bring out, use and bring out the best in us. Because there are some things that you need to obey for the best in you to come out. And if you do not obey that, that best in you may necessarily not come out. And I think that's what I found myself, because in the course of writing the book, at a point, I will ask them or each of them, I hope you're comfortable with your story being there. Even though they are all masked stories, you wouldn't know the owner of any of the stories.
Okay, so you were sharing about the people that you wrote about in the book without like giving their names. So how did they receive them being written
So
about?
yeah, when I was writing it, I kept going back and forth and say, I hope you're comfortable sharing my story. And one even said, I don't mind, you can share my story. If you want to put my name, I don't mind. I'm actually coming to your book launch to also talk about it myself. And that was the one that actually publicly came, because she really said a lot about her journey. And you know, and that brought me to understanding. Even one of my colleagues actually came and I talked about losing her brother to suicide. So in that program, you know, that's a very difficult thing to talk about. But she was there talking about it, and people were learning from her experience, because she talked about how she blamed herself, how she blamed everyone, how everything made her almost lose her mind. Because at one point she was asking herself, what am I supposed to do that I didn't do? And that's one of the things that a lot of people go through, one form of grief. Because when we talk about grief, we actually limit it sometimes to losing a loved one. People grieve over losing money. People grieve over losing relationship, losing too many things,
Jobs.
mortgage. Yeah, people grieve over many things, but understanding the impact, especially the negative impact of grief on ourselves, is one of the things I usually tell people. Grief can make you lapse into depression. And that's the reason why you need to seek help at every point you are grieving over something. And that's what my book, Overcoming Depression, does. It just gives you that insight that there is more to you living than just grieving. Whether you are grieving over loss of job, loss of a loved one, loss of a money, loss of mortgage, whatever it is, there is actually hope even in the midst of chaos. And that brought me, I have a free copy of a letter to my audience that is on my website. It's called A Beauty in the Midst of Chaos. It's just like a 2-3 page read that when you read it, you understand that irrespective of whatever life is throwing at you, you could actually bring out beauty from that. And
Oh,
that's what most people don't know.
you just give me chills again. This conversation is too good because it is true. Life is full of things that are going to break our hearts. That is a given, right? But what do we do with that time that we've been given? Because our time is limited too, right? We don't
Exactly.
know the day or the time. So, spending it anything other than joy and kindness and love, those are my highest, right?
Exactly.
I want that in my life. And doesn't mean that I don't have pain and grief and sorrow. I just found out like a member of our extended family who I love very much passed away, and he was only 35. Yesterday, I found this out. And that kind of like threw me for a little bit of a loop in the morning because you don't expect a 35-year-old just gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so again, I think when we know that life is temporary and it's going to make us not take things for granted, not take
Exactly.
the things that
Exactly.
we do have. We're yearning for the things that we want, but sometimes we forget to be grateful for the things that we do have.
Exactly. You know, the understanding that life is temporary, I'm going to pick it from what you said. Understanding that life is temporary will make you want to live and not exist. There's something I told myself. I do not just want to exist as a figure on this my journey on earth. I really want to live, not just living, I want to leave my name on the sands of time, that generations coming after me will read about me or see the things that I've done impacting lives. And even when I'm gone, people will still have something to say positively about my existence on earth. This is why I do not want to just exist, but I want to live. And living means what? You have to live to fulfillment, which a lot of people do not understand. They think that money brings fulfillment. Money does not bring fulfillment. I can tell anybody who cares to know that money does not bring fulfillment. You know what brings fulfillment? Living in alignment with your calling and your destiny as a human being. That is one of the things that brings what? The most as in fulfilling, like the most fulfillment you can ever think of.
Yes,
That's what
and you
will
know,
bring
it's
that.
I love what you just said because right before we did the pot, we got recording. I have these affirmation cards that I created, and I always pull one before I do a podcast. And I pulled one before our podcast, and it's this one: Love is my highest currency. Love is more precious than diamonds and gold. Love is life affirming and as necessary as breathing. I breathe love. And then, how will I add more love in the world today?
Oh, adding more love to the world is by being what? Kind. Kindness is a virtue that most people do not have. Kindness comes from a place of knowing that you may be living now and the next minute you are gone. I usually tell people, be kind. Be a kind person and let your kindness come from genuineness. Don't just be kind because you are expecting to get anything from the person. Be kind because genuinely you want to be kind. And when you are kind, it has a way, whether you like it or not, of coming back to you.
Yes.
Kindness is something most people may be nice, but don't be nice. Be kind. Kindness is what bridges the gap between our humanity and what others may perceive.
Yes, well, Ubuntu. I am because we are. And when we understand that every bit of energy we put out to the world, if it's kindness, good things will come back to us. If it
Exactly.
is selfishness and meanness and ugliness, guess what? We're going to experience that ourselves in the world.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
do
That's
unto others, the golden rule. It's so simple, yet we have such a hard time wrapping our heads around that concept.
exactly. Even at workplaces, different places, even in families, because there are so many people that are traumatized based on the family they are coming from. And these people actually carry it out to the workplaces and every area in their life. And
Mhm.
that's why most times when someone behaves towards me, I am thrown aback and I want to ask myself, is this person reacting to me or actually reacting from what is going on in their life? That's
Mhm.
one question I usually ask myself before I respond. And sometimes I may never respond because in my head I may just be saying, oh, may not be well at home, so I don't think I want to add to her problem, or I don't think I want to add to his problem, and I would prefer to walk away. And maybe on a different day, on a neutral ground, I may say, you see that thing you did that day, it didn't go down well with me, but I didn't want to dwell on it. That's the way I want to live my life. I do not want to live my life creating problems or creating unnecessary enmities that are not going to add a penny to my bank account or to my spiritual life. I see it as something that is not important. And again, understanding that most people may react from a place of pain. But the truth is this, when we are going through pain, instead of some of us trying to discover what that pain can bring out in us that will be for our positive living, we just want to dwell in pain. There's one word I usually say: do not waste your pain. A pain period is actually a period of discovery. Your pain period is a period you need to ask questions. It could be pain of going through losing a relationship, losing loved ones, losing money, losing anything. But that pain period is a time you need to do what? Do a lot of meditation, study the Bible, check where you are coming from, where you are going, where you are. What can you do differently? I tell people that I've done so many things differently. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a change. You should ask yourself, what can I do differently that when I come out of this phase of my life, I will come into light? Because there is always a saying, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But while you are going through that tunnel, what are the things that you are dropping as baggages? What are the ones you are picking up that will help you, that at the end of that tunnel, you actually emerge as light? That's what some of us should be thinking when we are going through pain, so that you will not just go through your pain and you will carry the pain and everything and begin to transfer it on others. I usually say it's only people that are hurt that hurt others. If you have dealt with your hurt, you don't give it to others. You know, when we go to social media, we see different people coming off in a way that you will be like, wow, why is this person this bitter? What I've understood, being who I am today, is that people react from their place of hurt. So sometimes when they react or when they comment or when they say things, I look at it, I shake my head and I say, this person needs healing. And that's what most of us need to begin to tell ourselves. When you want to do anything, ask yourself, where am I reacting from? Am I reacting from a place of hurt, a place of what someone had done to me, a place of what I'm carrying? Where am I reacting from? Am I really reacting because of this thing seated before me? Or am I reacting from a baggage that I've kept in me? And taking care of those baggages is what brings out the best in us. Because for you to emerge as the best, you actually have to have worked on yourself to be the best. Nobody arrives at a finished race without practice. Nobody does that. And nobody takes the lead without so many years or times or moments of practicing to be who they are. So when we see people as champions, we should understand that there is a price that has been paid for them to be where they are. And that's what I want people, when they are going through any phase, any challenging phase, any of the painful stages in life, always tell yourself, I will emerge strong. And by the time you will get there, you will look back and ask yourself, how did I get here? It will get dawned on you that all the phases and all the process you've gone through is God bringing out the best in you. And the best version of you is what has emerged. And when you see that best version of you and look back to where you are coming from, you will be like, who was that and who is this now? There's been times I ask myself such questions. I will be like, how did I get here? Yeah, how did I get here? And the only thing I can tell myself is, thank you, Jesus, for the help of the Holy Spirit, because I do not know how I got here. Because knowing my background, I grew up, my parents had very good marriage to what I saw growing up with them. But I grew up in an environment where my dad faced so much hatred from his siblings. So it made me, I had very, very serious trust issues when it's not my immediate family. I can't trust it because I saw my dad's siblings do so many things against him. You'll be asking yourself, are these people really brothers? How come this is happening? So, but it took me time to understand that most of my reactions, you can tell me this and you are telling me, oh, this is the truth, this is 100% true. You will think I'm believing you. I am definitely not believing. I'm just looking at you because I am thinking of where I am coming from. But until I began to tell myself, everybody cannot be like your father's siblings. You need to begin to think another way so that you can live and not carry this baggage. So over time, I began to work on that thought and that aspect of me, I was talking with somebody one time. I said, for many years of my life, the only person I know I've been able to trust 100% is my husband. I said, I don't think I've trusted anybody that much because of where I'm coming from. But now it's easy for me to trust. It's me that is on your podcast. Before, I would have been like, who is this? I do not know her. So, but now it's more or less like, okay, leave and let's leave. I think that's what I have come to understand, that everybody have their own challenges and everybody go through one pain or the other. I just saw that as a pain that my dad had to go through with my mom because of the people around him. But that should not be my situation. And that's why I decided to like, oh, you need to work on this aspect of your life, your trust issues, and you need to do what? You need to leave. And that's why I have decided to leave, not just as Chigozie, but also leave to impact others to discover their purpose, find fulfillment in what they are doing, that beyond the title, who are you? That's what my question. And everyone listening to this today, beyond the title, if they remove that title from your name, who are you? Understanding that there is more to you than the title is what will bring you to a life of fulfillment and a life of purpose. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's very beautiful. And I think that was a perfect reminder. Life is a journey, right? We know more today than we did when we were 5, right? And we'll probably know more in 10 years than we do, God willing, that we're still here,
Exactly.
than we are today, right? Every day is an adventure and a learning experience. And then also we can be more kind to ourselves instead of saying, oh, you messed up, or you're not making as much money as you want to make, or you're not at the job that you want to be at. Like, give ourselves more grace and
Yeah,
encouragement, and then just say it's a process. Life is a process. We're supposed to enjoy the journey. When you said the light at the end of the tunnel, we forget that that tunnel is our life,
exactly.
and how we go through that is up to us. Now, there are circumstances. I'm not going to diminish anybody's circumstances, but even the children that I work with in Africa who literally struggle sometimes for clean water or food on a daily basis, there is a joy within them, and there is a love for each other. And you see like the 10-year-olds like carrying the little babies and helping, each other. And it's so beautiful and supportive. And there's laughter and dancing and, silly games and stuff. And even though they're going through like one of the hardest experiences, that I've never had that experience in my life. I've always had access to water, but I see the joy and the community and, the way they live. And I feel like there's more happiness within their hearts, even though they're struggling and facing those challenges. So, we can definitely turn our lemons into lemonade no matter what we're going
Exactly. Exactly. No matter what we are going through, because the truth is, provided you are alive, there must be something that you will go through at any point. It's never all 100%. At one point in your life, you must have a challenge that you will begin to question everything around you.
through. Yeah.
You even begin to, at a point, I began to question what exactly is success. When I was going through this, trying to understand, you will have all the money in this world, but there is still a quest. So you begin to ask yourself, what really is this success? What is success? And that brought me to understand it until you begin to live your purpose. You may have all the money in the world, but you will not feel successful.
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite quotes, Ralph Waldo Emerson says, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have a wait, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you existed, that is to have succeeded. And it's one
Exactly.
of my favorite quotes. And you are definitely leaving a legacy. And that's what I hope to do. Like, I want everybody to leave better than when they came to me. I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel valued and cherished,
Exactly.
right? And so
Exactly.
you are doing that. And thank you for that, because the world needs so much more of that. So much more of that.
Oh,
I would
yes.
love for you to, oh, sorry. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I want you to leave our audience with where they can find your book, the name of your website. Definitely follow this lady because she's inspiring and motivational, and she was born to do this.
Oh, thank you so much. You can actually find my website. The name of my website is bravemindshub.com. Brave Minds Hub. There is an S on the mindshub.com. And on my website, you can get my book, the soft copy, Overcoming Depression. The hard copy you can order from Amazon, Overcoming Depression. And my name on Amazon is Dr. Chigozie Nwosu. So you will see my book on Amazon. You can search for it with Overcoming Depression. Then you can actually search for it with my name, Dr. Chigozie. I think I need to show a copy. Is that okay? I
Oh,
get a copy.
absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So this is what it looks like that they will send to you from Amazon. But the soft copy is available on my website. When you get to my website, you will see products. When you click on the product, you will see my book. You can get my book. And on my website, there is a letter I leave to everyone that comes across it. That's what beauty in cows, that irrespective of whatever you're going through, when you read Beauty in the Midst of Cows, which you download free from my website, just go there, download it. It's under free resources. When you get to my website, you will see free resources. When you click on it, you will see Beauty in Cows. Just click on it, put your email, and it will be sent to your email. I also have a free resource there that is called what? Free clarity, purpose clarity guide that you can also download, go through it so that if you're seeking a clarity of purpose, that would help you. These are free things, free documents that you can download from my website. And that will also help you to understand and know more about this person talking to you, because Beauty in Cows was just like my letter to you, telling you, I've been there, I see you, I understand you, and you can be the best version of yourself. It was me writing a letter to you, telling you I love you and you could be better. Thank you.
Oh, sawubona, my friend. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for tuning in. I hope you got something. There's so many nuggets Chigozie shared with us. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.